Alright guys, well welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be finishing up on the Jose C10 project. We're going to do now the tubular crossbar, upper and lower shock tabs, doing the 6-inch flip kit. We're readjusting the rear hanger so we can lift it up another inch, installing finally the front and rear shocks. And last thing we got to do is cut the lip of the wheel opening of the bed so it doesn't have a risk of cutting into the side of the tire. So let's go ahead and wrap this project up.
Your bra told me to come over, so I got her waiting. She used to be a pig until she saw my million. When she opened up the front door, like I was trick-or-treating.
Alright, so last night got the notches knocked out. Got those covered in paint today. The only thing I did forget is I'm gonna have to re-weld the brake hose bracket back into place because I had to cut this off so it was so close to the step notch that I wasn't going to be able to weld it good enough. So cut that rivets off. I'm just going to grind that area down right behind the notch and re-weld that back on. Probably I don't want to drill into the new notch, but I was going to clamp this in and drill it into like the side and just tap it and use the same bolt that I had. But I'll see how I can redo that. And then this was just the wire that goes to the taillights, so that I'll just drill a hole and kind of like zip tie it up to keep it from sagging, because he just had it laying there, wasn't really tying down or strapped down anywhere. So yeah, today I'm gonna be working on doing the flip kit now. I'm gonna flip the axle. He brought me the brackets for it yesterday, so we're gonna install this with the new little cups. Gonna reuse the same U-bolts, so he says it should work. He was told it should work, so we're gonna do that. The only other fabrication thing we got to do back here is probably make some shock extenders. So that's gonna be the project for today, and then we got to try to install the shocks on the front end. The passenger side, I believe he said, was gonna be a little bit more difficult because the tab where the shock mounts to, I believe he said it was stripped or something. So I'm gonna have to check that out as soon as I finish everything back here. But we'll finish doing everything and button this up, put the bed back on. That way we can roll it back and then work on whatever we gotta do out in the front end. So, oh, and then the other thing we gotta do is probably raise this up, because with that flip kit, he might be really, really close to the step notch. So we're gonna remove these brackets and then just move the bolts to where they're up on the next level holes to raise it back up another inch. So that is going to be the plan for today. All right, well, I got a little ahead of myself. I've already started doing it in the flip kit, but all I did was throw a little paint on the bare metal, keep it from rusting. A little Rust-Oleum, nice and shiny. So right now I'm just working on trying to figure out how this thing goes. It's pretty simple, really. Already got the little cup in there. Just gotta set this right in here, and then the bolts go over. The plate goes on the bottom, and that's pretty much the flip kit. And all I'll have left to do is that shock relocation, the shock extension. But yeah, we're pretty much almost to the point where we're wrapping it up back here, and then we'll get ahead and tighten down the suspension and get it back down. All right, so as I attempted to put the 6-inch flip kit on, I quickly realized that the factory U-bolts were not going to be long enough to reach the new flip kit. So I had to make a quick trip to O'Reilly's to get a universal U-bolt kit. But on my way back, I ran into a little friend.
Run.
Yeah, anybody want to take a guess at why I got pulled over?
Howdy, it takes off patrol, based off a couple reasons today. One's your speed, running 55 and a 45 back there. Any reason?
No, I just...
Okay. Also, you got 10 on your windshield. Why do you got that?
It's hot.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Roll this up for me. All right. State law requires this to transmit 25% of the light. This only transmits 14. All right. Do you have your driver's license and insurance?
Jose, you owe me for a windshield tint ticket. Yeah. Valió dick. All right, so I had to go to the store and pick up some new U-bolts because the factory ones weren't long enough. So just pick up these universal U-bolts from O'Reilly's, making it work. So just finishing up bunding down the rear end. Okay, so I really have no game plan. So just like everything else that I do around here, I just wing it. So attempting to drop the point of the lower shock down 3 inches to give it a little bit more room for the shock. So gonna just pretty much just try to figure this out as I go and see how it comes out. Okay, so now it's the next day, and come to find out, we're actually gonna have to scrap this idea because I failed to realize that he wanted a completely different setup. So I actually got my new templates right here already made, and what we're doing is making these shock brackets that are gonna go on the axle itself. So like right there. And then we can rotate it around depending on the placement of the axle or where the shock is. But all right, so here's the results of about 2 hours worth of cutting and grinding just with this angle grinder, and about this many cutoff wheels. Yeah, well, I mean, some of these were already used up, so didn't use, it wasn't like a bunch of brand new ones, but regardless, it still took way too much time. I mean, some of these have little cuts because this was like a piece of scrap metal, but that can be just easily filled up with a little bit of welding. But got them all pretty much cut out. Like I said, it took me 2 hours. Now, the only thing I have left to do is to actually just drill the holes out for the shock itself. But I do not have a big enough drill bit. I need a 9/16 inch drill bit to drill those out in order for it to fit the bolt hole. So this was well deserved after about 2 hours of cutting and grinding. But all right, so this is pretty much the deal we're going for. The idea, I need to trim it just a little bit more to kind of fit up against the notch down here a little bit better. I need to not sand this corner down, but that's pretty much going to be the idea right there, and weld that in, and then we'll weld the tubing to that. So there we go. All right, well, several things happened that are preventing me from finishing the project today. I was supposed to finish. One, turns out my shock relocation tabs that go welded to the axle are too short. The shock is going to be compressed way too much. There's not going to be enough play there, so he has some room. So I had to whip up another template. This is kind of a weird design, but it has to drop. Corona. It has to drop below the axle at least 8 inches to have enough room, kind of a play like right in the half of the travel of the shock. So I'm gonna have to redo all these again, at least for the lower half, but still it's a pain. I gotta recut 4 of the shock relocation tabs for the underside. That, and I fucking ran out of welding wire for both machines. This one was completely done. I was using my 220. That one I ran out, and then I checked the one in this one. It had barely enough to finish that tubing that I did on the underside of the cross member, the brace that I did across, and then just a few tacks to hold the upper links, the upper tabs for the shock, and completely ran out of welding wire. So what I did do though was cut those bolts off of the U-bolts, the excess. So I did get those cut off. And then I just spent some time to make those new templates for the shock. Really a basic design. I mean, I didn't want to do like a just straight shot and then 90. I didn't know if that would look good, even though it is a square body. But I didn't want to go with that design. I'm making it a little bit more complicated on myself just because it looks better, in my opinion. So we're gonna cut these out. We'll swap these out and put these in tomorrow. And really all that's left to do is to put the front shocks on, which I might try to do today if I have enough time and energy. But for now, I'm just gonna spend the time to cut these 4 tabs, and I'm gonna have to put it in my drill press over there and drill out those holes. So I'm gonna do that tonight, and then I'll pick it back up tomorrow when we attempt to finish the build, because that's all we have left to do is install the 4 shocks, and then pretty much weld in the all of the 8 tabs for the shocks.
Look into my eyes, tell me what you motherfuckers see. Coming out the grave, I'm looking for another murder spree. Talking to my demons cause they understand me. Standing my back to the drum.
Alright guys, well finally it's the next day, and I got my brand new spool of welding wire. So we are ready to roll on that, and pretty much getting ready to weld in the lower shock tabs. And once we tack those in and like where it's sitting, then everything will be in its place and finish fully welding it. Cap the end off of the brace right here, throw a little paint on it, and we should be done. Well, actually no, we got to go to the front. So let's go ahead and start setting this up and get this done. I want to try to finish this project today because we have another one coming tomorrow that's getting the same thing. So let's go ahead and button this up, get it welded in, and then I'll pick it back up when we're ready to fully weld it. yeah, as you saw, I was getting really pissed off with my welder because my tip had gotten so dirty that the wire was welding itself to the tip, so it was clogging up the tip of the wire, and that was causing the burst nest to happen inside of the welding machine. The burst nest is when the roller pushes the wire too fast, and because of it being clogged at the end of the tip of the gun, it just starts spooling up all the wire inside the machine, and you just gotta have to rip up all the wire out of the gun, reset the whole thing, feed the wire back into the gun, and I had to literally do that like 6 times throughout this whole process trying to finish the rear end. So I really got so frustrated that I just completely forgot that I was recording, and just ended up taking me like, I think it was like 45 minutes just to finish welding that tabs for the shocks, and then capping off the end of the tube at the top because half of it was sticking up above the frame rail. So I ended up capping it, finished dressing up the welds, just spray painted, and finally here's the result of, after so much cursing and frustration with my welder, we finally got this rear end all knocked out. All right, well, what a pain. Not mainly on the project, but it was frustration I had with the welder. The wire kept welding itself to the tip of the gun. So like 5 or 6 times I had to stop what I was doing, break the weld off of the tip, pull all the wire out of the gun, reset the machine, go back, and it was like just doing it constant. So yeah, it got a little frustrating, but finally got it done, welded in. Now I'm just gonna give it some time right now to let the paint dry a little bit, and start gonna tie up the wires and the brake line over here, and then put the shocks in, tying them down, and we are finally done with everything back here. Then last thing what I want to do is we're going to turn around and we're going to attempt to put the shocks on in the front. However, I don't know if I have his wheel lock. So after I finish this back here, I'm going to call him, ask him if he has it. If he does, I'll go ahead and do that. And maybe if not, maybe he wants to do that later on, because he's been wanting to pick this up already because he likes the way it's coming out. So yeah, pretty much going to finish this up. And I'll pick this back up whenever I get everything all buttoned up. And if we work on the front end, it'll be in this video. If not, I'll cut it to when we're finishing up and he's taking it away.
It's a cleaner way than having me bleed. I only think about it cause I'm trying to set my soul free. Fuck what you think cause you don't even know. Bustin' your dough, now slice to the dough. Keep a smile on my face, everybody turns cold. Niggas should another great plane with the 6 that I got to my bone. Sacrifice the motherfucker, let the blood drip into the flow. Eat the flesh of the dead ones, hurry with it for the underworld. Give me 3 days and I come up and take anybody to end your soul.
All right, well, last thing I gotta do before the mamalona goes home is I'm gonna end up cutting a little bit of the slip off, and then these little like drain channels, because it's still way too close for comfort to the tire. So I told him I'm gonna go ahead and just cut these down and just hammer them flat as much as I can, just to get them out of the way, and do that on both sides. And then once I get that cut up, then that'll be pretty much it on this truck. And he's coming to get it this afternoon. So just gonna take my cutoff wheel, cut them down, prime it, and then just send it on its way, and we'll see. I'll pick it back up whenever we get it done. All right, so I didn't get the final video of how the bedside came out whenever I cut the lip off, but it gave him a little bit more clearance, and it was rolled over, so I had no risk of cutting into the tire. I gotta say, I really like the way it came out because it is squatting in the back a little bit. It looks like it's just ready about to take off. But he did mention he wants to probably bring it back and see if we can drop the front end a little bit more, maybe another inch. But until then, that's going to be on this project. On the next episode, we're going to be doing just a regular underbed notch on a 2017 Silverado. So stay tuned for that video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Share the videos. We're trying to reach 7,000 subscribers for the end of this year. And also make sure you check me out on Instagram and on my Facebook. All right, now we'll see you guys on the next project. I still can't believe I got that windshield tint ticket.
Commit the murders, you forever stuck to keeping my legacy on.